On our live stream morning. And I'm Moshe coming to you from Israel and Galilee. Today is the 30th of June. And we're, boy, it's warm today. Yeah. It's about 8:17 in the morning here in the Holy Land of Israel. That's not so holy. We're at 78 degrees already. Wow, we're going to hit 93. I already preemptively started the air conditioning so the house doesn't get hot and it's hard to cool it off. So we wake up in the morning, we give the air conditioning a break for a few hours, and then on it goes. And that's life in Israel. That's life in Israel. Okay, so um, what we're going to cover today is Trump and his insanity again. And I use the word insanity because he's not working right. He's lost his marbles. He's running around saying they're going to meet with Iran. Iran wants a deal. Iran is saying they're not meeting with America. The attack on the ships for 2 days in a row has cut the traffic way, way the heck down in the Persian Gulf. So the oil ain't moving anymore. Iran's closed the Persian Gulf. Reality check. Iran has closed the Persian Gulf. Trump, wake up. Knock, knock. Anybody home upstairs? You're too busy putting your picture on 250th anniversary passports. When are you going to put your picture on the $200 or $500 bill or the $1,000 bill that you're inevitably going to be led to create with your stupid inflation, driving the value of the dollar down? And he is apparently quite afraid to do any serious attacks on Iran. I have no other explanation. He's eating too much tossed salad and whole enchiladas. So, what's this genius going to do? Keep lying to everybody and saying, we're having a meeting this week, it's old Trump. I guess they believe him because the price of oil keeps staying down. But he did have it open for a few days. He did manage to let a lot of oil leave, but it was mostly Iranian oil, them making a lot of money on it. So the Iranians are, saying they're not doing nothing with Trump unless Trump goes back and fulfills the agreement. And that they were talking about wanting money. I think they probably want the whole amount of the $100 billion that's been seized. They want that back. And they're also talking about fulfilling that. See, Trump signed the deal with Lebanon. Lebanon, Israel, America, three-way deal, leaving Hezbollah out, which is moronic. Okay, so they're making a ceasefire in Lebanon without the people that are causing all the trouble, Hezbollah. Cuckoo, cuckoo. You see, there's something wrong here. That's not normal. That's just a play game for the media. That doesn't do anything. Do you understand that? You can't make a deal with Hezbollah through the government of Lebanon. Hezbollah never listens to them. Now Hezbollah is talking about getting rid of the Lebanese government. They always have been. Now I think they're getting very serious about getting rid of the Lebanese government because it negotiates with America and Israel. Can they do it without the help of Israel? Probably not. Would they get the help of Israel? Probably. All we do is just send a bunch of planes out there if they start collecting in force. boom, 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 boom. That's it. You know, if they slip in and try to take over the government buildings in Lebanon, that's a lot of problem because now you've got civilian, shields, it's human shields problem. So there's stupidity taking place here, no doubt about it. And the deal that America made regarding Lebanon with Israel and the deal they made with Iran regarding Lebanon and Israel are two different deals that contradict each other. So what's Trump going to do? He's trying to throw Israel under the bus, okay? And Israel every day, the highest ranking government officials in Israel every day say they're not leaving Lebanon. We're at risk of a ground invasion if we do. Trump doesn't care. I mean, I'm telling you sincerely, he doesn't care if we get a ground invasion. Why would he care? What does he care about it? You understand? What Iran will do to him if he leaves the Middle East is they will put a gun to the head, so to speak, of Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman. Jordan doesn't count, they don't really sell oil, and Saudi Arabia to only sell oil off the US dollar and I'm sure off the euro too. And they'll break the US dollar. They'll drive the value down. What would they drop it by? A move like that would probably at least 12% drop, maybe 20% in the value of the dollar. That's going to create crazy hyperinflation in America. Your price of food will go up a lot, like 20%. And you're not going to get an increase in your wages from your boss. That doesn't happen, right? They benefit from this because they're paying you the same amount of money, but the same amount of money is worth less. And when they sell their products, rest assured they'll elevate the prices. Will they elevate your wages? No. No. Satan bots run these big businesses. All right. And then we're going to do a translation today from the Salkinson and the Delitzsch Hebrew New Testaments with secular translation. It's going to be very clear. And we'll go through Revelation 17 and 18. And by special request, Malachi 3, verses 16 and 17, which is not in the New Testament. It's in the Old Testament. So we're going to use the Masoretic text for that and the Codex Vaticanus from 300 AD, which is based on the Septuagint, which is 250 BC. That should have got you confused. Didn't mean to. Okay, let's go take a look at our live stream. And I got to put a post up, which is going to take seconds. This is all. Not that many people coming in. Not that many people coming in. Not that many people coming in. Thank you for everybody giving me greetings. I appreciate it. And I'm going to get my post up, which won't take but seconds, I think. check for typos. Looking good. And let me pin this up. And looks like we're good. Just check. Looking good. Okay. Being a Bible-believing site, I'm going to do some praise and then prayer for the live stream. Okay. There is no God like Jehovah. This is when people leave. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem, Yeshua, Mashiach, I pray for things to come out well. We have good teachings, good study, good fellowship, good anointing, and everything goes well without any problems or difficulties with the live stream, which transitions to a video. And I ask this of you, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can please agree with that if you're a true believer, and we will get started. We will begin. They're saying that the U.S. Navy Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain was completely demolished, and I tracked this thing down, and it's coming from Iran. No, there could have been some slight to maybe light, moderate damage, but nothing substantial, no injuries in Kuwait or Bahrain. So that is lies coming from Iran. And Iran does lie. Okay? Okay. Trump's saying there's going to be a meeting with Iran in Qatar, and Iran is saying, no, we're going to Qatar to talk to the mediators there. We're not going to have a thing to do with America at this time. America has to fulfill their obligations. See, they don't ever want to admit they did anything wrong, the Iranians, okay? We have heard and seen Trump lie about meetings and negotiations with Iran many, many times. We've heard him lie, J.D. Vance lie, they all lie, you know. And it's common knowledge. So, I mean, it's, everybody knows it. Okay, the president of Iran, called Masoud Pezeshkian, whatever, $6 billion out of the $12 billion of Iranian assets held in Qatar will be released and transferred to Iran. Efforts to recover the remaining funds are ongoing. So I heard they got 19 billion, and this might have been included in that figure. Likely it was included. So they're saying that it's still not released. Well, sometimes these things with all the signatories, it takes days and days to get released. You know, people that hold the money, especially banks, hate to let go of it. Insurance companies, banks, and others, they hate it because they earn interest on it. So they just stall you off as long as you can, as they can. Just stall, 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 and make money on your money and not give it to you. See, most people don't understand. They think a wire transfer takes days to get there. Okay, it doesn't. When it's a big deal with them, they both hold on to the phone when they send the wire, and then the guy says, "Okay, I sent it," and the other guy says, "I got it." How long does it take? A very accurate comparison would be, how long does it take for you to get an email? That's how long it takes. So the banks jerk you around, tell you got to wait days while they investigate your terrorist activities because somebody sent you a wire for $322, you know, while at the same time they go to the real terrorists and give billions of dollars of their money, of their own money that they seized, back to them, and let them trade oil without sanctions. But you, the terrorist suspect, oh, your $327 wire is suspicious. But the Iranians, oh, they could do what they want. Do you see how sick the Satan bots running the governments are? And the people don't even know this. They don't even care. They accept everything that's dished out to them. It's silly. Your trouble in life predominantly comes from two major areas. One is the governments. Every government during this age, which is closing out now, is a Satan bot. That's it. Okay, you don't accept that. I'm sorry. He's the God of this age. Satan. Okay, not a real God, but you don't accept that. I'm sorry, but that's the case. There's no country that is not being run by Satan's people. Okay, so they're giving you all the trouble. What should a government do? Okay, a government should have a military to protect itself from being attacked. I can see that. A government should handle an economy, a banking system, make sure water is moving, electricity is moving, airplanes are flying. If they want to get involved in some safety standards for building a bridge or a 40-story building or something, that could be understood. But, they shouldn't be doing anywhere near as much as they're doing. And their budgets should be reduced by about 80%. They're no good. They're your trouble. They're with their phony money supplies, causing inflation, the silent thief. They're your trouble. And your other source of problems is the major corporations. They're all Satan bought too. Guaranteed. Okay? What is your other source? Organized religion, but it's way down on the list. It's there, but it's not as bad. It's bad, but the others are the ones really giving it to you. Okay. So the Iranian foreign minister confirms that there will be no meetings this week as part of the negotiations between the U.S. and Iran. No meetings of the technical teams, that would be for nuclear material, I assume, are scheduled to take place this week within the framework of the Memorandum of Understanding. Consultations with Qatar will continue regarding the implementation of the other parties' commitments in accordance with the Memorandum of Understanding. The round of talks between the technical teams will take place after the conditions for it have been established and a date and location have been set. Iran's judicial chief, Goliami Hossein Mohseni, I don't know his names, announced that the Islamic Republic, that's Iran, would be pursuing cases against the United States in the International Court, I guess in The Hague, and that authorities would begin seizing American assets if our access becomes possible during an event titled American Human Rights Week, according to local and diaspora media reports on Sunday. At the event, which focuses on alleged human rights violations, this is Iran talking. They had snipers on the roof shooting women with their babies, their own citizens, committed by the U.S. Alil, this is that guy, claimed that courts had already issued rulings against American officials who have committed crimes against our people. They've issued rulings against American people. Okay, so the Iranians, you see, the Iran, because of Trump's weaknesses, the Iranians have come to the conclusion that they've emerged as a world power. Now, they have no viable, realistic submarines other than little mini submarines. They have no navy to speak of other than go-fast boats, which are civilian boats, you know, maybe 50 to 70 feet or 80 feet or something, modified. So they have no real navy left. They have no air force left. And they're a world power. Oh, gee, how does that work? It doesn't. But they're stupid, okay? Now, all the Satan bots in the world are stupid and that they behave like children, okay? And I keep telling you that. And that's the reality. And their days are numbered, you know, with very, very low count. So what the Iranians are doing is now they're playing a game of a world power, and they're going to the world court, international court, and they're trying to get American assets. But they're gonna. The problem is America's not in that treaty. Neither is Israel. As far as I know, they're not in that treaty. Now they're talking. That's criminal usually. Now they're talking civil here. Well, yeah, it's not really civil. It's criminal with monetary practices. So, how do they do this? Well, they have to get a court decision. Then they gotta get a dollar amount in there. Then they gotta execute it. And they can't execute it in the United States, so they have to go elsewhere. Of course, it'll be ignored in the U.S. The Justice Department would not only ignore it, likely prosecute anybody that tried to serve the judgment on the banks or stock brokerage or, you know, investment bankers or whoever they were trying to get the money out of. The Treasury, I don't know, whoever. They would probably prosecute them. I would say the chances in him prosecuting would be almost 100%. It'd be very high. Maybe Trump would just strike it down and not bother prosecuting him, but I think he would. Would he extradite him? I don't know. I don't know what he would. But if America has assets in another country, which they probably do, because let's say take Germany, they've got military bases in Germany, and they're paying soldiers, and they might be paying them through the American system by having a branch of some American bank or something on the military base, or they might have some service they're running for the soldiers so they can get their money, and but I don't know exactly how to do it. So if they have money in German banks, they might attempt to attach, seize the money, because I believe Germany is in the treaty. I believe so. I could be wrong. Or they could do the same thing in Great Britain or some other countries. Anywhere that America has assets, financial, they could attach it. Now, Trump could put criminal arrest warrants on the judges of The Hague or whatever court they're using, international court, for attempting to carry out like a writ of execution that's an illegal document, because America's not in the treaty and it has no weight or bearing, yet they're trying to make believe it does, and that could be a fraud. It's a fraudulent document. Really, in reality, it is, and they could be arrested, and then Trump might try to arrest them and extradite them at night in the dark. I don't know what it'll do, but that would certainly put an end to it. They just grab them and throw them in a car to a helicopter to a jet, and they're in the air, and that's it. It would be a low probability if Trump did that, but he could. He might do it. He has the technical or the tactical apparatus to do it. That would put an end to the Hague nonsense. Israel won't do it because everybody will come after Israel, lock, stock, and barrel, but they won't come after America. Israel might help America coordinate it, but I don't think America needs us. America has some very strong intelligence apparatus. Don't kid yourself. So I don't know what's going to happen. I will tell you this. You follow the money trail. He who dies with the most toys wins. If they try to grab millions of dollars of American money, and they grab it even, Trump will lose it. Okay? His marbles are missing, and whatever's left making Donald run, he's going to lose it. Okay? And he'll do things that he may or may not regret, but he's going to definitely go after those judges for something like this. He really will. Otherwise, it gets out of hand. And what does out of hand mean? Well, they could start trying to grab American assets. Normally it would be government assets. Seize a Navy ship, seize a military plane, or it could expand to seizing United Airlines and Delta or their planes, or I have no idea. But Trump wouldn't just put sanctions on the judges, he would put arrest warrants on them, and that would be it. And they would put counter arrest warrants on Trump. And if they did that, I think Trump would try a snatch. And what they tried to do to him, bring him under penalties in their court, Trump would do to them and drag them into his courts and put them into penalties, and then next thing they know, they're meeting the dictator of Venezuela in the lunchroom of the jail. So we got to see how this goes. You can always expect sparks to fly with Trump, but the problem is he gets scared and backs off all the time. Trump backs off with great consistency, actually 100% consistency. So it would be out of character and out of profile and out of his psych profile for Trump to dedicate himself to a war and see it through, which might take 5 or 10 days if he hits the right infrastructure. Water desalination and electricity. That's it. He doesn't have to hit the bridges, the railroads, the ports, the piers, just that. But they're going to launch missiles like crazy. Now, I don't think him and Israel together are going to be able to stop that. So what Iran's really bucking for on its serious side is they want more money released, and they want Israel out of Lebanon. They're trying to drive a wedge between Israel and America, and that's all they're trying to do. And Trump is stupid because he starts to give in to them. He doesn't get it. Okay? What are Trump's choices? I'll run them down to you. Number one, I had enough, I'm out. Pull the troops back to America. Right? NATO doesn't want to help me. I'm pulling more troops out of NATO in Europe. You know, and this type of thing, right? Is there a chance he does that? Pretty low, but yes, but not much. It would be an extremely poor choice because it leaves Iran as the powerhouse there, and they're going to pull these other countries that sell the oil into compliance with them, and that compliance is to take the form of not selling oil for U.S. dollar currency. So where does that leave America with a bad mess on their hands, you know? And it'll get worse. They can start cutting off allies of America like Japan and other countries from getting oil from the Middle East. So, you know, prices will rise. They may not go to 200 or 300. They may go to 100, like they did, you know, in the past, 115, something like that, which is going to be painful, but not like $200 or $300. And that's one option. The other option is to continue the way he's going. How will that turn out? Well, Iran's not going to keep firing at ships because there's no ships to fire at, okay? So what is Iran going to do? Well, they'll keep pot-shotting Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, start hitting oil refineries and things like that. Maybe they'll escalate to the oil wells, start fires in the oil wells. It's very hard to get the fires out in the oil wells. They have companies that do it, but it's hard. Um, and more of the same stuff just continues. That's it. More of the same just continues. That's something he very likely can do. It's the way it's been in the last 30 days. It will stay that way. Um, he's dumb enough to consider that a viable alternative. And the other option, which Netanyahu is going to push him strongly on, is to just wipe out Iran and get rid of it. And it's killing Trump to do that because that's the end of his Nobel Peace Prize, and he knows it. And it's also I'm thinking. It also ends any chance he has of getting the control of the Iranian oil. And that's really what Trump wants. He wants that Iranian oil. And they know that, okay? And they're not, going to give it to him. And I told you this before. If it gets that bad, they'll blow it up themselves. We saw in World War II the Japanese fight to the finish. In other words, committing suicide, kamikaze plane pilots, banzai charges where they knew they were going to get killed. There were times when they were going to be captured, where they were surrounded, they couldn't win, and they just committed suicide. They laid on hand grenades and stuff like that. So this is nothing new. More intelligent armies like the Romans didn't do this stuff. If they had their troops there, they wouldn't send their troops into a combat thing where they were outflanked, outnumbered, outarmed, and were going to get destroyed. They didn't waste troops. They didn't want to ever do that. It happened to them, but that was an error in judgment more than overt, open knowledge that they were going to get wiped out. Most of the great armies in the history would not waste their troops intentionally like Iran would. But would Iran really do it? If Trump really started round the clock bombing, what would the Iranians do? If he hit their water desalination and he hit their electrical grid, they'd probably leave the country, like the prophecy says in Jeremiah 49, starting in verse 34 to the end of the chapter. So, yeah, I think they would just depart. They would get out of Dodge. What's the point of staying? See, Trump, but they might try to get very vindictive before they go, and very vindictive might mean firing off all the missiles they have, as long as they're able to fire, and destroy as much as they can of Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. I think that would be very, very, very realistic, because these were in the time of recompenses, payback for what they did to Israel. It's payback over the controversy of Israel. Isaiah 34 verse 8. I know they don't talk about that on Sunday morning, but it's in the Bible, Isaiah 34 verse 8. Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. Push comes to shove, want to see Israel disappear. Don't kid yourself. So Trump's next move is either nothing and things continue like they did the last month. Trump evacuates out of the Middle East. Possible but unlikely. Trump goes whole hog and wipes out Iran. Most likely to happen, maybe not by America or other entities, but that's the most likely occurrence. It's not most likely, it's prophecy, it will happen. Okay? So, we just got to watch and see what Trump does. He's scared. He's confused, he's bewildered, he doesn't like this, he doesn't know how to get out of it. He has to deal with it, and he's lying. Historically, Trump has made great gains by being a liar and betraying people and throwing them under the bus. And when he does it to Israel, and he will do it to Israel, you might want to think of that as end game for Trump. And it's going to mean the government of America too, not America, but the believers will get out, the Israelites will get out. That's about it. The others won't. That's prophetic. That's in your Bible, Jeremiah 50:51. So what is Trump going to do? We don't know. The fact that he's lying and trying to make people think it's all okay tells me that he's looking for short-term answers to keep the oil prices down. He's the one that messed up the oil prices. He did it. Okay? He was on his campaign, first Venezuela, now Iran, but actually it was first Venezuela. Remember when he was talking about making Canada and Mexico part of the United States and Greenland? Well, that's all oil. Mexico has oil. Canada has quite a bit of oil. In Greenland, the reports are it has extensive amounts of oil. Hard to get to, but it's there. He had success with Venezuela. Now he learned the lesson that Iran is nothing like Venezuela. Cuba knows the weaknesses of Trump. So what Cuba did, because Trump's threatening to go in there, Cuba doesn't have oil there that I know about. Trump was going to go in there, and then the Cuba president started handing out rifles to the constituents of Cuba, the citizens, forming ad hoc, immature militias of these people. And Trump's sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, if I send the Marines in there, they're going to have to kill tens of thousands of these crazy Cubans that are going to be shooting rifles at them. And then it comes, where's my Nobel Peace Prize? I can't do that. So now he's at the same place, he doesn't know what to do. Now comes midterm elections in November. Usually around November 4th. That's a long ways off. For no oil moving from the Gulf, from the Persian Gulf again. So, how does he deal with that? Well, he doesn't know how to deal with that. That's how he deals with it. He's not. He doesn't know what to do. If you think Trump's on a path and he's made this roadmap and he's following it, boy, are you wrong. Iran is controlling the show. He don't know what to do anymore. Iran's running the show. Trump just responds to what Iran does. Because Trump wasn't really retaliating seriously when the Iranians were hitting Bahrain and Kuwait, they're going to keep doing it, but right now they don't have to because they have the Persian Gulf closed. So from their point of view, they don't care how much oil Kuwait and Bahrain are going to make because it ain't going anywhere. They're not calling the Houthis into the fight because they're afraid that Trump will just smash the Houthis and then they have no threat value anymore. What does it take to smash the Houthis? Well, you start sending planes there every day, lots of planes. bombing anything your intel tells you belongs to the Houthis, and you just keep doing that and doing that and doing that, and you can start sending Apache helicopters in to mow them down. You get rid of them. Drones flying, constantly targeting them. Helicopters, jets, just all the time. Nobody ended them. Then there's no threat anymore that Iran uses. And Trump's only real way out of it is to wipe out Iran. That's it. He doesn't have another way to go. Now, if he's going to do it or some other countries are going to do it, we don't know. But Trump is certainly terrible with economics. Look what he did to the economy of America, and he's certainly terrible with military. Look what he's done. So Trump's a pretty bad leader. What's he good at? You tell me. How did he benefit you? How has Trump benefited you since he came into office? Other than nonsense like, oh, make America great again, come on. How has he really objectively done anything to help you? He hasn't. Checking the live stream here. Okay, let me keep going here. So Trump comes out and says, oh, we're going to have peace talks with Iran, and then the Iranians come out from high-ranking officials and say we're not. And what happens? The Iranian officials are right. There are no meetings. And Trump is wrong. With the greatest consistency, perhaps one time it was different. Maybe a little different. But it's just about universally the Iranians are telling the truth about that stuff. So the Iranians go on to say the visit of the American representatives to Qatar has no connection with has no connection whatsoever to the visit of the Iranian delegation. Trump's trying to make it look like there's a meeting, a lie, and the Iranians are clarifying it not. Now, why would the Iranians go to Qatar when they're angry at Trump and all that? Because a lot of their billions are in the Qatar banks and they want that released quick. That's why. That's what they're probably talking about with Qatar. We're not going forward. We want our money. Where's our money, Now, this is just something very real that happened, but it goes to show that America and Israel are getting ready to have, big break, I would say. This is coming from our defense minister, Katz. Trump prevented the removal of Hezbollah. Trump linked Iran to Lebanon because he wanted to close a deal with Iran. This prevented us from uh, landing a huge blow on Hezbollah in all of Lebanon. Okay? So Israel is speaking nasty about Trump. Did Trump ever disarm Hamas like he said all the time? Oh, we're going to get them if they don't disarm. They're going to get killed. They're going to get... No. His word is very... It has like very little meaning to people. Kuwait did come out and say that their the missiles and the drones were intercepted, and little to no damage, no casualties. And Iran was similar, so it looks like Iran was outspoken when they were saying they severely damaged the base of Iran, or possibly the Americans are concealing it, but I don't think so. Pictures would be popping up. Now, this is really weird. In Germany, there was a mass shooting yesterday, June 29. 6 people were killed at a youth welfare facility that provides support and housing for mothers and children. The victims were all adults, mostly employees of the center or the facility. Police arrested the suspect, the gunman, shortly after he was fleeing the scene. And the authorities say the attack appears to have been connected to a child custody dispute rather than terrorism or a political motive. In Germany, people do have guns. You probably need to get permission from the government to get the gun and stuff like that, but yeah, they do have guns in Germany, so that explains how that happened. And that, like I say, I don't remember reading about a mass shooting in Germany in a long time. I mean, Hitler was big on that, but it'd be really not in a long time. All right, I have a word here for people that are interested in getting involved with the YouTube videos, like downloading them and then uploading them on Spotify or putting them up on YouTube with another language. Okay, somebody that helps me with things told me a tip here that I'm going to pass on. Tell anyone who wants to help with spreading your videos that they can get a program called Snap Downloader. Snap Downloader. It appears to be in one word. SNAPDOWNLOADER. Snap Downloader. And that appears, and it says, and purchase the premium version. Now, the premium version, I think this person means the $10 a month account at YouTube. That's called YouTube Premium. Okay, that gives you the ability to download the videos. Now, just clicking, save in your app or something like that, that's not downloading them. Okay, downloading them means you download it into your computer and it's independent. Now, if YouTube were to delete your video off of their system and you had downloaded it into your computer, it does not get erased. Okay. So when you get the premium YouTube for the $10 a month, you do get the ability to do the downloads, which the free accounts don't have that ability. Now you got to remember that the $10 a month also gets no commercials on your video. So you might think that's not a lot of money, and it's not, but it also lets you chat or email or YouTube for. I don't know if it's just the $10. I think you have to have a certain amount of subscribers, maybe, or maybe it's just the $10. But you can communicate with them on a chat. I know I've done it a lot of times. It's usually pretty fast and stuff. Okay, so moving along. That's they got, I don't know, 2.7 billion people, and they probably have, maybe they got 50 or 100 million people paying the $10, or 20 million. What's 20 million times $10 every month? A lot of money. Okay, this gives you the ability to download videos from YouTube, and you can convert video files into audio files. Well, that's getting into, what you need to do. So, there you have it. Snap Downloader is the program you want to go after to do your downloads. Okay, and I believe that's free, and then you have to get your premium account on YouTube to make that work for you. Or you're not going to be able to affect the download. Okay. All right, let's get into some translations. So I gotta bring up my list. Here it is. And I gotta go. Let me make sure I'm at the bottom. Yep. We'll do the Malachi first. I went into details with what I wanted AI to do in terms of how to do the translation, so I got it off of all the churchianity stuff. And I had a little bit of a wrestling match with it, but it has no censorship pertaining to doing translations of old manuscripts and stuff like that. So it doesn't have any stops on there. You just gotta It has what's called training, how it's been trained. Um, so you just need to get it to do it a different way. It's not really difficult to get it to do that. Now I did Malachi, I gotta find out. Oh, I got it now. It's up higher, I think. I have a ton of stuff I had to do this morning. So yeah, it was giving me all this discourse on the vocabulary, and then I finally got it to work out. Okay, this is the first I'm going to be doing from the Leningrad Codex Leningrad from around 300 AD. Okay, which is basically an old the old Septuagint's remaining fragments that they put together. So this is really from the Greek, but it goes back before Yeshua came to Israel, came to earth. I say Israel, but everybody wants me to say, oh, came to earth. Well, not everybody, but okay. Here we go. Malachi 3:16. You'll see it's very clear here. Then those who revered Jehovah spoke with one another. Jehovah paid attention and listened while they were talking to each other. And a scroll of record was written. You could say safer, or perhaps for modern English you might want to look at a book, but scroll would probably be more accurate. Of record was written in his presence concerning those who revered Jehovah and esteemed his name. Verse 17. And they will belong to me, says Jehovah of the armies. See, hosts is disguising what it really means, armies. On the day when I prepare my private estate, I will show compassion to them, just as a man shows compassion to his own son who labors for him. I would say that's the day of vengeance, the same day that Jehovah appears in the cloud, beginning the prophetic time period of redemption. Although that was from the Hebrew, I'm sorry. This is coming from the Greek text of Vaticanus. Okay, 3:16. These things those who revered Jehovah spoke each to his neighbor. Very nice. And Jehovah said, Jehovah paid attention and listened, and he wrote a memorandum book. It's good, it's good. In his presence for those who revered Jehovah and respected his name. It appears that maybe angels were actually writing the book and he was in his presence. He was supervising it or something like that. Okay? Malachi 3:17. That was 16. This is 17. And they shall be mine, says Jehovah of the armies, on the day which I appoint, that's the day, that day, for an acquisition. And I will select them just as a man selects his own son who labors for him. This is good, isn't it? Okay, so that was a special request and fulfilled. And now we will go to the bottom and then work back and do Revelation. And I think it'll be very good amount of fun and enjoyable. Learning more. Obviously, I'm just a Bible geek, so I'm just saying that to be humorous, you know. So I get excited. Well, it'll be a lot of fun. Some of you will also be excited with me, but some of you may think I'm a geek. So there you go. All right, I've got these parallel. And we're going to use the Delitzsch Hebrew New Testament, which is nowhere near as good as the Salkinson usually, but it's pretty nice. And we'll start with Salkinson. And there came one of the 7 messengers who held the 7 bowls. Now, they're called messengers, but Delitzsch calls them messengers too. That's the real word, Malik. But I think it's a safe assumption if they're holding the bowls that they're angels. And he spoke to me, saying, draw near, and I will cause you to see the sentence of the great prostitute who sits by the multi-flowing waters. That's not so accurate. Now we'll do Delitzsch. One of the 7 messengers holding the 7 bowls came and spoke with me, saying, come, I will demonstrate to you the legal judgment or sentence. Legal judgment would be a sentence of the great courtesan, I like her better, prostitute, who is seated upon many waters. And the other one, that Salkinson's a little off, it says, who sits by the multi-flowing waters. The waters are peoples. Sitting on many waters is more accurate. But when you have both of them, you got great accuracy. You combine the two to make your translation. with whom the rulers of the land, and the Delit says, with whom the kings of the earth. I think it's kings of the earth, not kings of the land of Israel, because there are no kings of Israel anymore. Committed adultery. Delich says committed political fornication. Interesting. I think it's also religious fornication or stuff, so I don't know if political's so correct. And those who dwell, the false churches is not exactly political. And those who dwell in the world drew giddy from the wine of her whoredom. The inhabitants of the earth were made drunk by the wine of her prostitution, from the wine of her whoredom. Pretty good, both of them. See, the whoredom is perhaps better. Prostitution implies a fee is being paid. Whoredom is more fitting with adultery. Verse 3, then he bore me away in a spirit. And Delich goes, and he carried me away in a spirit. We would say he carried me away in a spirit. Into a desolate place. Delich goes into a wilderness. And behold, a woman sitting, and Delich goes wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting upon a crimson wild creature. That's pretty graphic, and Delich says she's sitting upon a scarlet wild beast. Scarlet, crimson, all right, not much difference. A crimson wild creature full of names of reviling, possessing, full of names of reviling, and scarlet wild beast covered with defamatory titles. That's interesting. Possessing 7 heads and 10 horns, and Delich is having 7 heads and 10 horns. So by reading both, you get the clarity. And the woman was wrapped in purple and bright scarlet, adorned with gold. And Delit says gilded with gold. Gilded means like she's painted in gold. That doesn't add up. Adorned with gold. Maybe this she is. I don't know. I don't think so. But that brings back the movie Goldfinger. uh, Costly stones, precious stones, though it says same thing, I guess, costly, precious, and pearls, and in her hand was a golden cup filled with detestable things. Um, and Delit says filled with abomination. I like. They're both good. And the filth of her harlotry. And it says, Delit says, impurities of her prostitution. I like the filth of her harlotry better. And upon her the golden cup is full of bad things that she's drinking, you know. And upon her brow a name was engraved, a hidden cipher. Now he's calling it a cipher. Now listen to Delich. And upon her forehead an inscription was written, a secret code. And the other one calls it a hidden cipher. Wow. Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes. And Delich goes, Babylon the Great, the mother of courtesans. I don't like courtesan as much as prostitute. Prostitute is more graphic and more accurate, I believe. And wait a minute, and Salkinson and the abominations of the land. And the abominations of the earth. I would go with the earth on this. And I looked, and the woman was staggering with the blood of the dedicated ones, Delich, and I saw the woman drunk from the blood of the dedicated ones, staggering and drunk. Drunk and staggering sounds good to me. Okay. Blood of the dedicated one. And with the blood of the slaughtered, Delich is, and from the blood of the executed. Okay. This executed is more specific, I think. Blood of the slaughtered witnesses. This blood of the slaughtered witnesses of Yeshua. Delich would go blood of the executed witnesses of Yeshua. They're pretty much very close. And seeing her, I was struck with an intense amazement. And when I saw her, I wondered with great astonishment. I like struck with great amazement better. More graphic, clearer. Now I'm in verse 7. Then the messenger said to me, why are you dumbfounded? I will interpret for you the hidden cipher. And Delich calls it a secret code. So they're really in agreement that means secret code, hidden cipher, you know. You say potato, I say potato, you know. the hidden cipher of the woman and the wild creature that bears her, that carries her, bears her, and uh, beast that carries her. I like carries her better than bears her. You know, bears her, was that a bear hug? You know, I like to carry her better. You know, it's the same thing really. Which has the 7 heads and the 10 horns. That's the creature that carries her. Now we're in 8. The wild creature which you beheld was and is no longer. So it says the wild creature you saw was and is not. I like is no longer. And it shall crawl up out of the underworld. I like that. And Delich says, and is not, and is about to ascend from the abyssal pit. I like crawl up out of the underworld nicely. And crawl up out of the underworld chasm only to this a chasm. Well, you know, that's that area like a deep valley between Abraham's bosom and the pit. Shall crawl up out of the underworld chasm only to advance into ruin. I like that. And go into destruction. I like advance into ruin. That really nicely tells it to us. And the inhabitants of the earth, whose names have not been inscribed in the ledger of life, and Delich says, whose names are not recorded in the register of life. Yeah, pretty close, you know. Ledger of life from the birth of the world. And the other one says from the foundation of the world. I like birth of the world. Foundation, the birth sounds better to me. More accurate, more precise. You get the idea. From the start of the world, you know. Shall marvel when they gaze upon the creature, because it was and is not, yet it approaches. Okay, and Delit says, will be astonished when they look at the wild beast, because it was and is not, and will be present. I like approaches, but okay, it was, and then it went in the pit, and then it comes out of the pit again, and then it goes to the lake of fire. Okay. This requires a discerning heart that has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains. Those to me are the continents. A mountain would be a continent. Okay? Upon which there's 7 continents, upon which the woman is established, or the woman sits. So you have the Antarctica, and who's there? All the countries have their military bases, scientists over there in Antarctica, so you got them in Antarctica. They are likewise a succession of 7 rulers. Five have collapsed. Delit says fallen, collapsed. 1 stands today, probably not now, and the last has not yet arrived. And let's see, it says, and the other has not yet come. And the last has not yet arrived. And when he arrives, his stay must be brief. So yeah, he gets to stay on the surface of the earth for a brief period of time, and then he winds up in the lake of fire. Him and the false prophet have the honor of being the first in the lake of fire, getting thrown in there alive. Remain only for a short time. So, you got to understand he has a brief period of time. Okay. And the wild creature that was and is no more, it is an eighth sovereign. Because he sets up his own rulership of some nations or something like that. Okay. Yet it springs from the seven, and it goes directly to its doom. Then Dalit says it goes directly to its destruction and doom. I like doom better because it's doomed to the lake of fire. Okay, keep going here. Now we're in verse 12. And the 10 horns which you perceived are 10 chiefs. And 10 kings is what Dalit says. And I like the 10 kings better. Who have not yet inherited a domain. See, some of the people will see what they're doing and we're doing here, and they'll get nervous and run away because they think that, God gave us the King James Bible. Go ye forth into all the, God, that's absurd. But that's what people think, I believe. Some do anyway, I don't know. Have not yet inherited and the 10 horns which you perceived are 10 kings or chiefs which have not yet inherited a domain, received a royal authority. That's nice. He says a royal authority. Interesting. Have not yet inherited a domain or received a royal authority, but they receive ruling power for a single hour in league with the wild creature. 1 hour together with the wild beast. It's pretty clear. So they run with the beast has 1 hour. Somebody will say 1,000 years is like a day, and then they'll break the day down to 24 hours and divide the 1,000 years. I don't do that. I don't know if it's right to do that. I've never done it. It's occurred to me, but I've never done it. These, because it's an inaccurate, it's not a precision. When it says, 1,000 years is like a day, I just don't do it, that's all. Maybe I should not be doing it. I'm not going to start doing it, though. I've never been led to do that. These possess a unified council. Dalit says these have a single political purpose. I like political purpose, I guess. And they deliver over their strength and dominion to the wild beast. And it says, and yield their power and authority to the wild beast. They're both pretty okay. Okay, wild creature. Now I'm in 14. And there shall deploy armies against the Lamb. They shall deploy armies against the Lamb, but the Lamb shall defeat them. Though it says the Lamb will conquer them. For he is the Lord over lords, and though it says Master of masters, I like Lord of lords, and the sovereign over sovereigns, King of kings, sounds better, King of kings, easier, and those who accompany him are the summoned, the selected, and the faithful. And then it says, and those with him are called, then it says chosen and loyal. Yeah, called. It's good, then it gets bad. Called is good. Many are called, few are chosen. So it says called, then it says chosen. And royal. Yeah, you could say that. You could say faithful sounds good too. You know. I don't think royal is so accurate. No. Then he stated to me, the torrents which you saw, where the prostitute is seated, are clans. And it says here in Delich, the waters that you saw where the courtesan sits are peoples. Throngs, peoples, multitudes, that's better, I think. Gentiles, that's nations, that's goyim. Those without God is what it means. And speakers of foreign tongues and languages. See, speakers of foreign tongues is much clearer. That means they're not speaking Hebrew, they're not Israelites. Okay, so these are the heathen. And 10 horns, the 10 horns which you observed, and the wild creature, these shall turn to hate the prostitute. The wild beasts will come to hate the courtesan. Okay. They shall strip her bare. They will leave her desolated and naked. Strip her bare and leave her desolate. Yeah, sounds okay. They shall devour her fleshly parts, and consume her utterly in the flames. Okay. Desolate and naked, they will consume her flesh and burn her completely with fire. So Salkinson says they shall strip her bare and leave her desolate. Okay. They shall devour her. devour her fleshy parts, and consume her utterly in the flames. So it's not like they actually eat her flesh, it's her consumption, but it does say they will consume her flesh. But it's saying the way that happens is by burning it in the fire, I guess. Rather than going cannibal and eating her flesh, I think it's better to, you know, consume her utterly in the flames. I think that consumption is better. Okay, verse 17. For the divine power has prompted their hearts to carry out this counsel, to act with a single accord, and to surrender their kingdom to the wild creature. So the Lord, Jehovah, has put it in their hearts to execute his political purpose. This is Delich. By maintaining a single mind and giving their royal authority to the wild beast. Until the words of the deity of the Lord are fulfilled. And that was Delitz's, Sulkinson's, until the decrees of the divine power of Jehovah shall be accomplished. Because I'm having this translate secular, some of the things like the holy names, you know, I'm going to get a little washed out here, but that's why we change it and put them in. Okay. And the woman whom you beheld is none other than the metropolis. Now, don't be telling me that it's Superman in the metropolis or something. Okay. That's not, Superman is just straight fiction. Other than the metropolis that yields imperial sovereignty over the rulers of the land, but it would be the rulers of the earth. Let's see the Delich. And the woman whom thou saw in the great city that holds sovereign dominion over the kings of the earth. You see, it's America, but it's not America today, because America's going down the drain. It's circling the drain, actually not yet descending the drain. And it's Washington, D.C., which is Columbia, which is the woman. Columbia Motion Pictures, the woman holding a torch, come to the light. It's a flat-chested woman, which makes me wonder, what are we looking at here? And it's identical to the Statue of Liberty, another flat-chested woman holding the torch, come to the light, on a pedestal, lifted up on a pedestal. And it's also the woman they put up in a statue, a graven image, on the roof of the Capitol building. These are graven images. Do they worship them? Well, you don't worship them. We don't see people worshiping them, but the Espots might. The Statue of Liberty is built with the columns, which is the Roman and Greek temples. It's a temple to the Yahuwah. That's Yahuwah. And what is the capital of the United States? The District of Columbia. Who's Columbia? Go back to the Columbia Motion Pictures. There's the whore holding the torch, a flat-chested woman, go figure that one out, on a pedestal. And it's the Statue of Liberty. And it's the whore on the roof of the Capitol building. It's not hard. It's just people go into denial. It was nice of the Columbia Motion Pictures people to give it away. It's sort of like a cipher to figure out who it is, isn't it? Huh? Or a puzzle, right? But we figured it out. So it's that city where they go to meet. Well, where do all the nations have their capital? Their capital, their embassies in Washington, D.C. But where do the nations meet? They meet in New York, in the UN building. It all revolves around the daughter of Babylon, America. Okay, now we're going to go to the next chapter, which is 18, I believe. Comes after 17, right? All right. Following this, this is from Salkinson, I saw another messenger coming down from the heavens. It's an angel messenger. Delit says descending from the sky. Endued with possessing, with immense dominion, or Delit says great authority. I like great authority. It's clearer than dominion. And the land was made bright with his glory. And Delit says, and the earth was illuminated by his radiance. This could be the glory of God of Israel. Following this, okay, he saw an angel coming down from the heavens, endued with immense dominion, and the land, which would be the earth. It's the Hebrew word is the same, haaretz, or can mean earth or land. Generally, it means the land of Israel, but it can mean the earth. In this case, I would say, let's see, and with immense dominion, and the land was made bright with his glory. I think this would be Israel, not the earth. This would be Israel. Arise, shine, your light has come, the glory of the Lord has risen upon thee. I think that's this scripture. Verse 2, and he shouted with a mighty cry, saying, she has fallen, Babylon the Great has fallen, she has turned into a lair, or a den, or a lair, for wild spirits. Let's go to Delich. And he cried out with a powerful voice, saying, fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. She has become a dwelling place. I like a lair better, a dwelling place, for demons. Wild spirits, demons, I think we're on apples to apples here. A dungeon for every foul breath, spirit, I think it's meaning. Let's see. I'll go to Delich. Become a dwelling place for demons, a prison for every unclean spirit. A dungeon, or boy, I wasn't getting that from the King James. And a coop for every defiled and loathsome bird, and a cage for every unclean a hated bird. The birds represent demons. For all the goyim, the heathen, have swallowed the fierce wine of her whoredom, have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her prostitution. Followed the Solkenson is swallowed the fierce wine of her whoredom. The rulers of the land committed adultery with her. The kings of the earth, maybe the rulers of the land. Yeah, it's rulers of the land, not the leaders of Israel alone. I don't know, it's broader. The committed adultery with her, and the traders of the earth. Yeah, it's the earth. Kings of the earth committed, and the merchants of the earth grew rich, and the traders of the earth amassed wealth from her, excessive opulence. The merchants of the earth grew rich from the power of her luxury. That's Delich, Salkinson. The traders of the earth amassed wealth from excessive opulence. Yeah, they're both good. Power of her luxury. Maybe Delich is a little better here. Then I caught another voice from the heavens saying, "Depart from her midst, O my people." And it says here, and I heard another voice from the sky. Depart from her midst, O my people, lest you become partakers in her guilt, and lest her strokes overtake you. And we go to Delich, come out of her, my people, so that you do not participate in her crimes, and that you do not receive of her plagues. Yeah. Now, let's play the sequence. The glory of God of Israel appears, right, at the beginning with the light over Israel. And his message is, get out of the daughter of Babylon, or you're going to receive her punishments. That means a lot of stuff happened. Yeshua appeared in the clouds. And this is your next great exodus starting. He told you, get out of her. And is Jehovah and Yeshua and the glory of God of Israel and the Ruach HaKodesh all going to help you get out of her? You bet they will. The mercy comes. This is it. So is the glory of God of Israel gonna go to the wilderness with you? Maybe. He's down here now. We just learned that. I didn't know that till today. Now he's down here. But he's in Israel. That would mean to me that Zechariah 12 verse 10 happened. Yeshua appeared in the clouds. And this is Ezekiel chapter 43. He shows up and he sends a message, and now he's going into his temple. He may or may not go to the wilderness with you. I don't know. Or maybe he goes to the wilderness with you and then comes back to the temple. I don't think that'd be the case, though. I think he goes into the temple. He may not be in the wilderness with you. It's not, we don't have enough to say, okay, for sure he's in the wilderness with you. I don't know. But when you're passing under the rod and entering into the bond of the covenant, it would sound like he is there with you, like he was with Moses and Aaron with the children of Israel in the wilderness. You are the children of Israel. Although you might not have any Jewish heritage, you're yeah. Okay, you're still in Israel, and all Israel shall be saved. And that's a promise from Jehovah, so you better believe it. Okay. Uh, he doesn't want her strokes, her blows, to overtake you. And Delich says, you do not that you do not receive of her plagues. You're not supposed to. These punishments are not for the children of God, not for Israel. Israel had their eyes closed and their ears stopped up. They're getting out. They're getting the everlasting life. They're getting out. They're coming back to Israel. And you, as a believer, are in Israel. Yeshua calls you his brethren, right? He's the king of Israel. The king of Israel calls you his brethren. And no, I'm not in Israel. I'm in the church. We stand next to the church. That's a prime example of Satan making a monkey out of you. Like Iran making a monkey out of Trump, sort of like that. All right. For her transgressions have reached unto the heavens, and the divine power, that's Jehovah, her sins, and this is Delich, her sins are piled up. That's clear. I like that. As high as the sky, as the heavens, I would say. And Jehovah has remembered her unlawful deeds. He has called to mind her lawlessness. Okay, I like both. Render to her even as she rendered to others. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, that's a bad one. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Remember Vietnam, how they rendered to others? Burning villages and oh, my gosh. And duplicate her wage. Remember the Indian wars that America did, wiping out the North American Indians to a great extent? Do unto her as she did to others? What was about the Korean War? What were they doing in Korea? Stopping the spread of communism. And duplicate her wage twofold according to her maneuvers. So let's read this in Delich. Repay her just as she herself repaid. So here it says duplicate her wages twofold, so she gets a double punishment. I could see that because Israel got double punishment. So I would say that would be like a double punishment. I'd have to. It says it in Delits too, and double to her, double according to her deeds. Duplicate her wages twofold. They're both saying the same thing. According to her maneuvers, according to her deeds. Maneuvers is a little hard to grasp. Deeds is pretty good. That's Delich with deeds. In the chalice, that's your cup. A chalice is like a cool cup, a king or a prince or somebody who would have that at the dinner table for their wine or something. In the chalice which she blend a double portion for her. She gets a double portion of the wrath of the Lord, the cup of the wrath of the Lord, because she's getting a double portion for her wickedness. In the cup which she mixed double for her. You don't want a double portion of the cup of the wrath of the Lord, people. No, you don't. As much as she exalted herself and indulged in luxury, to the degree that this is Delitz, that she glorified herself and lived luxuriously, so much yield to her pain and lamentation, to this Delitz. To that extent give her torment and grief, for she says in her heart, I sit as a queen and I am not a widow. Because this is Salkinson now. Because she boasts in her heart, I sit enthroned as a queen, no widow am I, not a widow, and I will never see grief. And that's very clear. I will never see grief. Enthroned as a queen, no widow am I, and sorrow I shall never look upon. Well, the widow stuff is married to the land. She's saying she's never going to lose her land. Well, she does lose her land. And it's saying that she's not going to get torment and grief. Well, do you think America is suffering from torment and grief now? Not super duper, but definitely it's starting, right? Look at all the fires in the last 2 or 3 years. I will kindle fires in and around your cities. Look at all the fires. You don't have enough time for the stuff to regrow. It's not like you have a fire and then 9 or 12 years later you get it again after it grew up. I mean, you're getting a lot of land burned out, Therefore, in a single day shall her strokes arrive. Very likely could be the day of vengeance. Because the timing works perfectly. That would be the day the glory of God of Israel shows up too. Therefore, in a single day shall her strokes arrive. I like that. Shall her strokes arrive. What's a stroke? Bada boom, bada boom, bada boom. A hit in the Old Testament. The plagues on Egypt were not plagues. Isn't the right word? It's a hit. Boom, a hit. Boom, a hit. That's a hit, right? You know what a hit is? Boom, right? Okay. Because of this, her plagues will come in a single day. It's a hit. A stroke is a hit. I could go with strokes. No problem. Her strokes arrive. Death, mourning, and famine. Well, all those fires are going to bring famine. You know it. Okay. Um, pestilence. This is deluge. A single day pestilence, grief, and famine. And Solkinson says death, mourning, and famine. Pretty close. I like death, mourning, and famine myself. And she shall be consumed utterly in the flames. That's how she's getting her flesh burned, consumed in the fire. I will kindle fires in and about her cities. That's in Jeremiah 50:51. And I understood that the other day. I posted Colorado and two nearby states are all suffering right this week, from big fires, And she will be burned completely with fire, for powerful is the sovereignty, powerful is God, Jehovah, who judges her. And isn't this so nice and clear? I love it. Shall be consumed utterly in the flames, for mighty is the God who passed judgment upon her. Now, V'ayin, chapter 9. Then the rulers of the land, the kings of the earth, let's see. Kings of the earth, I think this is better than rulers of the land, who committed adultery and committed adultery and noted in luxury with her. Now, why does it say adultery? What is adultery? You go out, a man goes out and cheats on his wife. Well, let's use an example of modern day today. Although the man thing is not the right way here, but let's say president. The president of the United States, the Donald, says he's a Christian of some sort, right? And yet he worships the whore. That's your adultery. You got it? Delich says, who's committed political fornication and lived luxuriously with her. Political fornication? No. When you're talking about the beast, it's more of a spiritual thing, because it's a spirit. Political fornication would be, I'm a Republican, but I'm going to do what the Democrats want. That's not it, and noted it, and rioted in luxury with her, and lived luxuriously with her. These are the ones with the yachts, the private jets, getting a jet for yourself that costs $400 million from Qatar, and probably dumping another $400 million into it. With the Mar-a-Lago estates and, triple floor penthouses in Manhattan. And, you're getting the idea, in luxury with her, shall weep and beat their breasts. And what does it say here? Luxuriously with her, will weep and wail over her, beat the breasts for her. They go like this when they mourn. I can beat the breasts. It's not, not Tarzan, And beat their breasts for her when they eye the smoke of her conflagration. When they look at the smoke of her burning. You see, that's the consuming of flesh, is the burning of America. Verse 10. What is this? Halting from afar, due to the dread of her torture. The dread of her torture. Wow, is this clear? Now, Delich, standing at a distance because of the fear of her torment. Very similar. Crying, this is Salkinson, crying, woe, woe, the great metropolis, Babylon, the fortified city, Babylon, the powerful city. Yep, that's it. Powerful city. Babylon, the fortified, powerful city. For in a single hour, your doom has arrived. Wow. And Delich, in a single hour, your judicial verdict, your judgment, that's he's saying your judgment, has come. So remember, we're using secular so we don't get the doctrinal influences of churchianity. Okay, 11. And the traders of the earth shall sob and mourn over her, because no man purchases their merchandise any longer. So Rolex is crying. I think Rolex sells more watches in America than anybody else, probably Patek Philippe. And then what about Ferrari, Lamborghini, Bugatti? You getting the idea? Okay. Verse now from Delich. And the merchants of the earth weep and grieve over her, because no one buys their cargo anymore. I like Salkinson better. Okay. In that verse, stock, just in that verse, I go in verse by verse. Stock of gold, silver, rare stones, pearls, fine linen. Let's see, Delich. Cargo of gold, silver, precious stones, pearls, fine linen. Very, very similar, if not identical. Purple fabrics, purple fabrics. He just says, Delich just says purple. I think purple fabrics is a little clearer. Silk, crimson, Delich says scarlet versus crimson. No big deal on that. All manner of scented wood, or every kind of citron wood. I think we're talking about cypress wood, but whatever. Okay. Manner of scented wood. They build houses. They used to make houses out of this wood so the house would smell nice. And they made a lot of the houses out of ivory too. I think ivory would stay cold in the hot weather easier. Like maybe you hosed it off with water and let it evaporate or something. I'm guessing here. I'm just guessing. But the closets in more modern times are built out of this scented wood, so you don't get a stale, dank odor in your closet, all vessels of ivory, and it's every article of ivory. People have chess sets made out of ivory and things like that. They might have a little jar where they keep some kind of fragrance in there or something like that. Okay. Scented wood, all vessels of ivory, all vessels of precious timber, and it says every article of highly costly wood. They got all kinds of woods out there, kids. You'd be surprised. They got all sorts of wood. Vessels of precious timber. Then it says brass, iron, and marble. bronze, iron, and marble is Delitzed. They're very similar. Now we're in verse 13. And cinnamon, aromatics. Aromatics could be incense, perfumes. Cinnamon is, for food. But I think it also has value as an herb, maybe. Unsure. Incense, so aromatics wouldn't be incense. Aromatics would probably be perfume, cologne, aftershave, that kind of stuff. We would say not so much aftershave, but it would be perfume. Delit says cinnamon, spice, incense. It says it a little differently. Ointment, and then it says perfume and Delit. I don't know. Go figure. Frankincense, Delit says frankincense is also Salkinson. Then it says wine and olive oil. And then it says in Salkinson, wine and oil, but it means olive oil generally. Choice, olive oil is good for you. Cook, use it in salads, this and that. You can soften skin with it, all kinds of stuff you can do with olive oil. Choice, flour, fine flour, it says in Delich. Wheat, cattle. Salkinson says herds. I guess that means herds of cattle. Sheep. They both say sheep. Horses. Both say horses. Wagons. Chariots. Okay, so is it a wagon or a chariot? And I don't know. And human bodies. And bodies. Are we talking about like maybe Epstein Island here? Hint, hint. Even the lives of men. That is human souls. Because they get people to condemn themselves, they trick people into putting themselves into judgment for the lake of fire. They thrive on that. They love that. The harvested fruits of your soul's desire have departed. Let's see, Delich. The fruit that your soul craved has gone from you. And I guess they talking about it could be the fruit in general, but it as a symbolic, but maybe it really means like, cantaloupe and honeydew and cherries and stuff like that have departed from you, and all your fat and all the expensive and splendid things and all Salkinson, all your fat and brilliant things. Well, we get the idea. Have vanished from your sight, are lost to you, Delit says. Yeah, vanished from your sight, lost to you, they're very similar. And men shall find them no more forever. And people will never find them again. You're never going to have it again. The vendors of these wares, or these things, who gained wealth through her shall station themselves afar off. Who grew rich from her will stand at a distance because of the fear of her torment. I like that, stand at a distance. themselves afar off for fear of her torture. Yeah, torture, torment coming to the old USA. Well, Israel has to get out of Lebanon, that kind of thing. Then he doesn't know what to do, and Netanyahu stands up to him and he backs off, and now he's trying to deal with, he wrote one contract for Lebanon, one peace deal, and another one with Iran, and they're contradictory. He lost his marbles, don't you see? He lost his marbles. And for fear of her torture, weeping and lamenting, weeping and grieving, it says in Delich, crying, woe, woe, the great metropolis, that's the great city, not the place Superman was growing up and worked in, Metropolis. No, this is I think Superman worked in Metropolis for Perry White at the Daily Planet with Lois Lane. Gotham City was where Batman was, and he grew up in the country in Kansas and then moved to Metropolis, which we have no metropolis in the United States, in case you didn't understand. There's no metropolis. There's no city named Metropolis. It's a descriptive word, a big bustling city or something, saying, alas, alas, the great city clothed in fine linen, purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls. And then it goes on in Salkinson, woe, woe, the great metropolis that was garbed in fine linen, purple and crimson, and decked with gold, costly stones, and pearls. So somebody will say, well, it's not Washington, D.C., it's New York. Look, it doesn't make much difference, but I believe it's Washington, D.C. But the daughter of Babylon, in the text of Jeremiah 50:51, the word cities in the plural is used more than once. So it's the whole country that gets it. It's not a particular city. It starts in one city, as we'll see, I believe, but, Verse 17, for in 1 hour this vast wealth has been laid waste, and every sea captain. Now, remember, in 1 hour, I told you Syria went in 11 days. You don't know how long it's going to take. I'm telling you, it's at the doors. You don't know how long it's going to take, okay? None of us do, all right? In 1 hour. He's making a show of his power. Our great God, Jehovah, our Father, is making a show of his power, hoping to perhaps bring people to repentance. I don't know. But he's showing his power, maybe for us, to bring us calm. It will, too. For in a single hour, such a great wrath has been desolated. A great wealth has been desolated. It could be the whole country. And every sea captain, every coastal mariner, sailor, and as many as ply their trade upon the sea stood at a distance. Every messenger, sailors, and all who work the sea stood at a distance and shouted out as they watched the smoke of her conflagration. And Delich says, and cried out when they looked at the smoke of her burning. That's her consumption, consuming her flesh, saying, what city is like the great city? You see, this is the city getting it. It starts. Could it be New York? Yeah, it could be New York, but it's probably Washington, D.C. What city was ever comparable to this great metropolis? Well, you can say, well, New York with the commerce and all that, but what city had all the power? New York City doesn't have that much power. You could say, well, the UN meets there. Yeah, but the UN is not, the city doesn't have that. It's Washington, D.C. that has all the power. And they cast dust upon their heads and screamed out, weeping and mourning, saying, woe, woe, the great metropolis wherein all who owned vessels upon the sea grew wealthy from her abundance, for in a single hour she has been turned into a desert. Um, Delich says, and in a single hour she has been desolated. Now, this is where I have trouble with people wanting to run away from me. Exalt over her, O heavens, and you dedicated ones. Delich. Rejoice over her, O sky, O heavens, and you dedicated ones. Messengers, that's angels, and heralds, so it says messengers and prophets. So he's saying angels and prophets. For the divine power has exacted your legal vengeance upon her. Delich is because the deity Jehovah has pronounced your judicial verdict judgment against her. Then a certain mighty messenger or angel lifted a stone like a huge millstone and cast it into the sea. Delich. Then a powerful messenger, I'd say angel, took up a stone like a great millstone and hurled it into the sea, saying, with such violence will Babylon, the great city, be hurled down and will never be found again. Saying, with such a violent toss shall Babylon, the great metropolis, be thrown down, and she shall disappear completely. The voice of lyre players or harpists, minstrels, pipers, and trumpeters shall not be heard within you anymore, and no artisan of any trade shall be found within you anymore, and the grinding of the millstone shall not be heard within you anymore. And the illumination of a candle shall not clear, shall not gleam within you anymore, and the voice of the groom and the bride shall not be heard within you anymore, for your traitors were the greatest were the grandest. No, wait a minute. What is this word? Were the grandest of the. We would say grandest. I don't know where they get this word. Uh, the traders were the grandest of the earth, and by your witchcraft were all the goyim led astray. It comes right out and says the witchcraft led the nations astray. And within everything in America is with witchcraft, the movies, the books, politics, the schools, everything, you know. And within her gates was discovered the bodies of the blood of heralds and of dedicated ones. Dedicated ones. Yeah, it says the same thing. Dedicated ones in. And all those who were butchered upon the face of the land or upon the earth. So, yeah, that's your King James, Revelation 17 and 18, and it's really rather different than what we get when we read it in the King James and the English translations. Uh, all right, so I don't see any questions coming up here in the chat. Well, that knocked me out, so I'm gonna close this out with a prayer. By the way, I've been asking you to pray for my journey through the Israel private and public welfare system, and it's going even better than it's going very well. Keep praying for it though, but it looks like it's gonna produce for me, so I'll be able to tap into that. Nice. Okay, my Heavenly Father Jehovah, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers and our households. I pray that we all would have your peace, safety, protection, joy, healing, and your shalom, and that we would have the gifts of the Spirit, and I would focus on faith, wisdom, and discernment. Okay, and I pray that we would have strength and stamina and your healing and recuperative power flow through us. And for us and our animals and pets, we'd be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray for any of us that need a house, place to live, different place, or we don't have a place and we need a place, that we find what we need and it would be a good deal and a good place, and we would be happy with it. And I pray that we I pray that if any of us need work, we find good work. If any of us need clients and customers, we find that. I pray that we would all have adequate money and then some extra. Okay, and I pray for us to know the scriptures better, understand the scriptures better. I pray you help me get very good at doing the translations. And I pray for people to help me get the YouTube videos put up on YouTube in different languages. And I pray to be able to get the podcasting going with Spotify and all the other places to post podcasts. And I need help with that. I can't do it myself. It's too much for me. This takes a lot of my time. And I pray that my videos and live streams get better and I can do a better job with them. And I pray all this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay. Some of you are going to be coming to Israel before the Great Exodus or in the Great Exodus. I still think before, but I don't know what that means in terms of how much before and all that. I don't know. I don't get the timing. He doesn't keep the... Yeah, he wants the timing secret on this, so secret it'll be. Yeah. That's all we can do. Now I'll do some spiritual warfare. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach. I'm going to do some spiritual warfare now for me, my wife, all the true believers and their families and households. I loose any unclean spirit in any person in this group. It's kicked out of that person immediately, can never go back into that person again, ever. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And if there's any witchcraft or sorcery targeting or directed at any of these people, including me and my wife, it's null and void, of no value, no effect forever, shall never return exactly or in like kind ever. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. So, there we go. So, I'll keep keeping you informed, and we'll keep trying to figure out what's going to happen. If Trump doesn't come out fighting against Iran voraciously in a big way, they're going to come after him. Well, in the form of the American bases. They're going to just keep pushing. They'll figure eventually there'll be a point where Trump will get them all their sanction money, and he'll go to the UN and lift all the sanctions and everything else. That's what they're waiting for. And they're going to also want not only Israel to pull out of Lebanon, they're going to want Trump to pull out of the Middle East, leaving them in control as a superpower. Ridiculous, but that's the Trump. Okay, so I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I thank you guys, and I'm out.